And welcome back, everybody. The Old Gab Box podcast and radio show brought to you by our friends at Casa de Campo in the Dominican Republic. Check it out, casadecampo.com. The weather right now is amazing down there, and we're inching closer to cutting the ribbon on Teeth of the Dog. That's the Pete Dye Gym. 4 courses down there, all designed by the great Pete Dye. But Teeth now has undergone a facelift. We've been talking about it. It reopens in December. Get your tea time now, casadecampo.com. All right. Gilles Gagnon is back with us. Gilles is always traveling around the globe. He's been down in the DR, the director of golf emeritus, who's been there for more than 4 decades. Gilles, I don't want to put an age on you or anything, my man, but you got to be proud of that resume down there at Casa de Campo.
You know, it's funny because when I've been there 44 years, and the funny part of it is that a lot, managers, hotel manager, if they stay at the same place too long, they move around. I think that's part of the job as an hotel manager. But as a golf professional, if you could stay at a club for a while, you're doing pretty good. So, they used to say, the guy would say, you've been here too long. You should think about going somewhere else. I said, well, you know what? This is heaven. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, it is heaven. And for our listeners and viewers, Gilles sent me pictures the other day, and he was actually playing Teeth. He gets to go out before they cut the ribbon, right, with Robert Bertel, the current director of golf, Miguel Angel Jimenez, who the great champion, now on PGA Tour champions, and his wife. Gilles, number one, the pictures looked gorgeous. The weather, the day you guys played, it was incredible. But the course itself, wow, Gilles, I can't wait to get down there. That was absolutely breathtaking, those pictures.
Well, I tell you what, I was blown away. I mean, I've driven around a couple times and stuff, and it had been 3 weeks since I saw it. And so, Robert organized things, just for us to go play and just to kind of because Miguel was traveling this week. He's playing in the senior. I think it's the final, right? The final.
It is.
The champion. So we teed it up, and the fairways look like it's carpet. I mean, they look like fake grass, actually. I mean, Teeth of the Dog is obviously a beautiful golf course, always has been, but the edge of it was kind of a little scruffy all the time. It was a little bit like Pete Dye's personality, a little scruffy. And now, we clean all that up, and the fairways are perfect. The bunkers have been redone. The greens, actually, I was surprised that I hit my little duck hook in there and it stayed, which I was surprised. But it just absolutely, I think people would be blown away with I shouldn't say changes. The course is pretty much the same. We've added a few tees, put tees that have been destroyed in some hurricanes. We put them back in. The greens have gotten a little bigger in there. The tees, because of the play, obviously. We used to have not very little play 44 years ago. But so Jerry Pate, I have to say, we were all sitting there kind of holding our breath. And he's done an amazing job. And the staff really did amazing.
Tell me now, I know it reopens in December, and again, we're just a few weeks away from the reopening. I would think tee times are going to be pretty booked, right? Because people have been dying to play Teeth for a long time.
Well, I don't want people not to come, but February pretty much we have nothing left. So we're going to open the 5th of December. The ownership, we're going to come down and they're going to hit some first tee shots. We won't tell them that we played there last week, but so they're going to hit some tee shots, and then the next day we're going to have about 12 people, the family and myself and a few other people going to play, and then I think the first tee times are December 9th. We have an event with Links Magazine. We're going to do an event, so they're going to have some times there. And then we have a tournament called a twosome that I started, 30 years ago. Also, we have a couple rounds on there. And then, the regular things is coming along. And it's Christmas, obviously we're booked. And, the key right now that I'm really concerned with is that we don't, just go out there and just put so many people, and because it's still fragile. Paspalum is very resilient, but I just hope that we maybe try to keep people a little more on cart paths or something for a while. But I'm sure people want to play. I mean, we get phone call every day, and I get called. As a matter of fact, a little while ago, well, Jill, why can't I get a tee time till 1:50? Well, you're lucky to have 1:50. So so we're very lucky with that right now.
Yeah, I'll be down December 15th, so I'm going to time it out a little bit before Christmas. So hopefully when I get down, things will have smoothed out a little bit as far as the number of people on the golf course. Anyway, tell me now, Miguel Angel Jimenez, who, by the way, is having a spectacular year on PGA Tour champions. I'd love to hear the opinions of the guys who are world class. How much did he enjoy it?
He did. And, Miguel is such a nice guy. The next day, he played at a little golf course, that PB designed, and with a bunch of local people. And on Facebook, they were showing a picture of him dancing, whatever, and a cigar.
Right.
And, he went out there. We got on the first hole, and all three, Robert was very gracious and he said, Jill, you got to hit the first drive. I said, no, let's hit it together. So, me as a lefty and the other two guys on the other side, and we say 1, 2, 3, and we fired out there. And, he played all the way back and he hit some really good shots. And, he might have been a couple under par until he got to 16. And we had the pin just about ending on the edge there, basically on the wall to the right. And he went at it twice and he hit it just a little short, the one on the right. So, but, obviously he wasn't really worried about hitting it in the water there. But he loved it. He really loved it. And he said, he always loves that golf course. As a matter of fact, first time he saw Jerry Pate, he told him, he said, don't mess around with my golf course. If he could play every day, it's all the quality shots, some par 5 he could reach, some of them you got to lay up here and there, but he hits it so flush all the time and he putts like crazy. I think a couple green he missed or rolled over and he chipped, 10 feet. And I figured, he's going to make bogey, and he rolled that thing in like nothing. He's really good. Can you imagine him I think he's 62 years old, maybe? Is he that old?
Somewhere he is.
But, plays golf every day, smokes a cigar, and I promised him a bottle of wine when he won the first out of the 4. So when we got there, I had the bag, and I said, I promised you the thing. So he says, it better be a good one. I've won 3 after that. I said, well, I wouldn't even drink. It's so expensive. I said, that's Opus. You know what that is, don't you? He goes, yes, I do. And, but he loved it. He really loved it. His wife loved it. What I did is, because the guys were playing and she was kind of rushing to get to the tee she plays from, the white tee. She's a good player. And she was rushing and kind of hit a couple bad shots at first. So I said, look, I'll move up with you, which made me feel a little more comfortable a little further up. So she loved it. She kept saying, oh, I love these little details that we've put out there. And, it looks so much better. You never look at a cart path. The cart path are always off to a point where they're hidden through little mounds and stuff. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to get down. By the way, Miguel Angel Jimenez has won 6 times. He has advanced the final 36, advanced to the Charles Schwab Cup Finals at Phoenix Country Club later this week. Big money event, the grand finale of 2025. I would think Gilles, he's one of the favorites. There's no question. Obviously, Ernie Els has had a big year. Stuart Sink. Stephen Alker is number 1 going in. So it really is a all-star list if you keep up with golf. And I'm looking forward to it. I know he is too.
Yeah, he is. And, Steve Alker, his caddy, actually, is from Nebraska. He's from Omaha, Nebraska. He was a good player. And we call him Bucket Boy, Martin. And what he does, he actually does also the yardage books for some of the PGA events, the PGA Senior, and he does also for the USGA. And he's a good friend of mine. But, I think he's ready. But, the schedule is amazing. He's gone from there. Then he went from Casa de Campo, or La Romana, up to Arizona. Then he's flying to Portugal. Then he's going somewhere else, he told me. And then from there, he goes to Austria for the holidays with his wife's family. Then he goes to Spain. I mean, I don't know how this guy does it. I mean, the amount of time he spends on airplane is just absolutely crazy.
Well, good for him. He's lived an exciting life, an amazing life up to this point. So why stop now, right? Hey, I wanted to get your thoughts on this because Tiger Woods turns 50 next year. About a month ago, underwent another back surgery. So right now he's not playing. He's not playing in the PNC father-son with Charlie either because of the back situation. Not playing in the Hero World Challenge, his tournament in the Bahamas where he invites 24 guys down. Again, the back he's in rehab right now. There's some people who say, Gilles, that in order for PGA Tour champions to really thrive and survive as it moves forward, that he's going to have to play. Not a lot, but maybe 4 or 5 times. Do you think his presence on PGA Tour champions would be that big for that tour?
Well, I think no matter wherever he shows up, on one leg or I think
right. Good point.
I mean, there's people that go to obviously, Jupiter area, and they go to his restaurant, and whatever is around there because it's him. I think the only way I would see that he would play is that he would want to win the U.S. Senior, a PGA Senior, and those events. I think that's still part of the legacy. And, it's hard for me to believe that, obviously when you're in pain, you can't play. I mean, I've had knee surgery and I try to come too early and then messes up your swing. And
It does.
But I think he's going to want to do that somehow or another. I can't believe the guy doesn't have that he doesn't want to play. I think he's getting a kick out of his kid now.
Yes.
Watching him, he probably gets nervous because I remember when my daughter played, I was, going behind trees and throwing up. I was so nervous. So I'm sure, despite what it is, he's probably gets a little kick out of that, get the adrenaline going. So, but I think, he might not be the same Tiger, but you can't tell me to give the guy a little while to practice and work out type of thing. He's not going to go back there and want to, win these events.
Yeah, it's exciting to think that he may get back out there in some capacity. And obviously, he says he will never ride in a cart, but that's available to him if he goes to PGA Tour Champions. All right, I want to ask you this, too, because we talked a lot about Gary Player on the show when you've been on, 90 years young. The great Gary Player, the Globetrotter of Globetrotters. You talked about Miguel and all the places he goes. Nobody's traveled more than Gary Player. Was on a podcast recently, Gilles, and he said, listen, Jack's 1, Tiger's 2. If there was, if you labeled the best golfers of all time, the Mount Rushmore of golfers, he said he said this, I deserve to be 3 ahead of Ben Hogan, ahead of Bobby Jones. In fact, he dispelled the majors that Bobby Jones won. And the great Gary Player drew a little criticism, a little backlash for proclaiming himself the 3rd best player of all time. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm 77 years old, and a lot of things, I guess, and maybe in the old days I wouldn't say. I'm not a fan of Gary Player, to be honest with you. There's too many history about his golf. And, no question, he was a good player. The first tournament I've ever gone to was at Oakland Hills when he won the PGA. I think it was the PGA there where he hit the shot. You're too young to remember that, but he hit the shot over the trees to this hole that nobody thought it was possible. So there's no question he's a great player. Is he number 3? I don't know. I mean, he's probably in the top 10, I would say.
Yeah, I would think so.
There's so many great players now. I mean, okay, so Scheffler is great, but he hasn't longevity. There's a way to go before. I mean, he's great now, but, there's a big difference being like a Nicklaus that won all these events, and Palmer and Trevino and Hogan and, Jones. I mean, it's so difficult to compare players from different decades. I mean, I know at Casa de Campo, when I used to play with Pete Dye, on the 11th hole of the links, there was a bunker on the right there. And when I got there 44 years ago, I couldn't get over it. 25 years later, I can fly it right over. So he moved the bunker. And, obviously, because I didn't get any stronger or any better. It's just the ball and the equipment. But, you still got to put the ball in the hole. And the competition is so much more difficult, I think, these days. I think if you look at football, there's so much, equality. Dolphin can beat Buffalo, which is incredible.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, so, Gary Player, I think sometimes he just pushes it a little too hard. He's amazing. He lived 90 years old. He's in good shape. He looks great. I will not diminish what he's accomplished in his life, but to say that I'm number 3, I'm number 3. I could say I'm number 2 at Casa because there's only been one guy before me. So I wouldn't lie about anything there. But anyway, I think he probably would get a little flack for that.
Yeah, it was interesting. And he even thought, he said, listen, my career should be held above the great Arnold Palmer as well, which has drawn some backlash considering the popularity of the king, needless to say. But the one thing you can always say about Gary Player, Gilles, he does have an opinion. I mean, he never holds back, right? You may not agree with him, but he always has an opinion.
Well, he's 90 years old, so, again,
Yes.
he can say whatever he wants. I mean, it's...
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do as you get older, You can say some word sometime or whatever, and people, he's old, that's okay, he doesn't get it, or, whatever. So that's maybe what it is with Gary, but it's still amazing at 90 years old. If you look when they go to the Masters and they hit the shot on the first hole, and you see Jack Nicklaus is really kind of hurting Gator now, and he's kind of limping around and he's kind of crutchy and he just kind of bunts it down there, and Gary just takes that thing and hits it. I mean, you can tell he's not 20, but you're sure it's kind of hard to imagine he's 90 years old and could be, that fit and hit some shots like that.
Yeah, still has a great golf swing. He really does. Maybe not as flexible as he used to be, but it's still fun to watch him play. All right, speaking of age, and I always have to ask you a hockey question because you're my hockey guy, going back when you were a great player there at Michigan State and Colgate. Alex Ovechkin, the 40-year-old Russian, still playing with the Washington Capitals. Last week, Gilles, the first player to ever score 900 goals in an NHL career. To me, that's mind-boggling. To think, number one, that he's been around that long, but number two, he is still a really good player at 40. And Gilles, he's going against guys in their 20s. I think pretty remarkable story, Alex Ovechkin.
Well, I think he might be number one. I mean, Gretzky was amazing, but now if we're talking about in terms of how long he's played, and I mean, the guy is amazing and scored 900 goals. I always go back to a little story, and I know that you like to hear some of those stories. Nobody else does, but you like to.
I love it.
When I was in Montreal, I used to play hockey with Maurice Richard, which again, that goes way back. But he's the first guy that had 500 goals until Gretzky beat that record, and then more people have done it since. But they didn't play as many games, and there are 6 teams there in NHL, and so yeah, this guy is amazing, and he's strong as a bull. And I don't know if hockey, obviously, you go to a hockey game, you go there to see a couple fights. But I remember there was a young kid there, I can't remember which team he was playing in, but they kind of grabbed each other. He basically, do you want to go at it? And the rookie, had the nonsense to say yes. Ovechkin just pounded him. I mean, he just had him going, and I don't know. This guy is strong, and used to say, but originally lived with his parents, and he had his diet and working out and hockey, and I remember when he won the Stanley Cup, he was going absolutely out of his mind. That I'm sure that was something growing up, and he had kind of lost a few, and he's, I don't know. There's a few athletes that you look at, and I think if Tiger would not have gotten hurt as much, it would have been very different. But there's some people that just, I don't know, they're some kind of weird things with their genetics, I guess, and plus the drive and that they have. I mean, why do you want to keep playing out there? I mean, you got plenty of money, like Tiger when he kept winning. The guy, why he doesn't need any money. I guess it's the drive. That's why I feel sad about in some ways something like Cam Smith. That's not hockey, but Cam Smith, right? He wins the British Open. He goes to live. He hasn't done anything since. He's got money, and I don't think he cares. It's not that big of a deal for him anymore.
Yeah, but it's different. Ovechkin, like Tiger and some of the others, they just have that it factor. And the 900th goal, by the way, was spectacular. This kind of crazy angle, and he hits just found a little keyhole up in the corner of the net. I mean, it wasn't like just a bounce off the skate type thing. This was spectacular. So again, if you're going to get 900, you might as well do it like that, and that's exactly what and also, Gilles, I like the fact he never puts his teeth in. When he does interviews, he's always missing that front tooth. I like that. That's a good look.
Yeah, I love it because I kept all my teeth, but I don't have that. I got those fangs that my wife laughed at all the time. The little Canadian vampire. But yeah, no, he doesn't care. You mean, and it's funny because I don't think as many players now get their teeth knocked out because, they have the mask
right.
And stuff like that. Somebody would ask me the other day, I said, when I played Pee Wee hockey, we didn't have helmets. How did we?
Isn't that crazy?
We didn't get killed. But I think, again, you look at rugby, I don't think people get hurt. They don't have as many concussion because they know that they can't put their head. I guess I don't know why these guys don't get killed anyway, all that rugby stuff. But yeah, no, he's some of the goals that you see him score, when he comes across or when he's on left side on a power play and they throw that puck at him and he just fires that thing. And I think even if the goaltender is there, it's going to go right through him with the force that he hits that thing. He is amazing. He is. I mean, and it's funny you tell me because I watch hockey, but not as much in the DR, and I didn't know that was 900 goals. That's
yeah,
crazy.
Remarkable. 40 years old and still going strong. And of course, he's a large man physically. He's still a very imposing figure on the ice, and he's just a bull. He's just a bull on skates who still has great skill, and I don't know, he's made a hockey fan out of me, that's for sure. All right, Gilles, as we say goodbye, I can't wait to get down and see you. Our listeners and our viewers, I guess they can still go to casadecampo.com, right, and plan the trip?
They still do. I mean, we have some dates obviously that are open. I mean, March, we got different things going on, and we're planning. We have this a cigar, a lot of people like cigar. I'm not a cigar person, but we're planning a cigar event now in March that it's going to come out online very soon. And we have, the Pete Dye Society, actually. I don't know if you've heard about, there's a friend of mine that started, they have the Donald Ross Society. He started the Pete Dye Society, and we're planning an event for next November. So part of Casa de Campo is you should also go to the website, like you say, but look also at events. Because a lot of time, if you're coming down right now, right? So we're going to play golf. Your wife's there. I know Marilee and her are going to get together, do stuff.
Yes.
It's kind of fun when you got other people than just two people going or something. So we have great events that people can go and come in and play. And, we have all kinds of, the tees depending on your age, your handicap. And we have, like I said, if you're in the Pete Dye, that Pete Dye Society we're going to tell a story about Pete Dye, and a lot of people, hopefully the granddaughters are planning to come there in November. And so, that's part of the fun of Casa de Campo. It's not just going there like you go anywhere else. We have some events that you can participate. Then you make, literally you make friends forever. I mean, we have so many people, 20, 30 years that keep coming back. Look, we met, what has it been, a year ago now?
Yes.
I really appreciate you having me on those podcasts, and I always listen to the others that you do about football, and you do an amazing job, and I'm very, very grateful and proud to be part of this.
Gilles, we appreciate it, my man. We'll see you soon, and take care. Listen, I know you're sneaking out on teeth, but go ahead. You have the right to do that. You have the free pass.
We'll put you back where Jimenez was at. See what you do.
Yeah, that's what I need, to be back on the championship tees.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
All right, buddy. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.